Thanks for joining us. We're here with our annual discussion with the Superintendent of CCISD, Dr. Roland Hernandez. We also have the Police Chief, Kirby Warnke, joining us. Barbi, of course. I'm John Thomas. So glad you gentlemen can be with us.
Yes.
This is a discussion I think a lot of families get a lot out of. It's a chance for them to kind of go through and see what topics we're addressing. I guess just a general welcome back. We're in a new school.
Yes, that's the first thing that we need to address. The big elephant in the room is the beautiful building. Yes. Congratulations on Hamlin Middle School. I know that the staff and students have been waiting for this school to open, and we walked through it, and it's beautiful. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad y'all are here, and we're happy to do this. I heard a lot of positive comments about our partnership last year and starting off the school year. So in August, we're opening 2 brand new middle schools, Lexington Middle School out on Yorktown on the south side, and then Hamlin Middle School. Hamlin Middle School is replacing our old Hamlin Middle School that's 50 to 60 years old, and what a new, exciting building for our kids. We can't wait for them to come in that first
How
day.
many students can we house in this facility?
This school is built for right around 725 students. It won't start out that big, but we know that as the new schools are opening up, more and more students are coming to those schools.
And we have the police that are ready to patrol and keep everybody safe.
We're good to go.
Okay, always got to check just to make sure.
The main question everybody has across the board from all the schools and all the parents and all the students is, of course, the cell phone regulation. If you could tell us what that is for CCISD, is it the same for all levels, elementary, middle school, and high school? What are the regulations?
So that has been, you're right, that is the call that we're getting about every day on cell phones. Our board did take some action last week. The new legislative law that was put in place recently is that there are no cell phones allowed in the school day period, all grades. We did get ahead of the game last year because we put district rules in place that there would be no cell phones up through 8th grade at all the entire day. And then in high schools, they could have phones, but they could only use them in the transition periods and in the cafeteria at lunch, but not in the instructional period. That was before the governor made the change to where no cell phones are in the school. So that is what we're educating our parents on, what that means, what it looks like. We did take action to remind people that our policies now match the law. Cell phones are not allowed whatsoever in the school day. We are allowing students to bring the phones to school with them, but they have to be in the off position and can stay in their backpacks. So they cannot be in their pockets. If they have no backpack at first, they can be turned into the front office that will stay there and remain there to the end of the day. We also recognize, and we're trying to do as much as we can for parents, because we know that many students walk to school. And this is their form of communication after school, walking home, getting picked up. For students who are in extracurricular, also going to out-of-town games or games away from the school property, that is allowed, and we're putting that into our policy to allow for it.
I know a lot of parents are wondering, well, then how do I get in touch with my kid instantly? Yes. And is that something y'all discussed as well?
It is, and that is something that we discussed last year when we put the rule in place up through 8th grade. So all of our classes have phones. We understand there will be emergencies, so we encourage parents to either call the front classroom or the front office, which is the main number, and they will transfer them to the teacher where the student is. If there is an issue with that, the front office takes the call, we get the student, bring them to the front office, and get in touch with the parent just as soon as possible. And that's how it was before cell phones even came along. Yeah. So I do think, there are lots of opinions out there, but I do think that this is a good move for safety. Before we put it in place last year, I can say that by putting it in place during the entire middle schools in 8th grade, we cut our discipline issues in half. With any students being disruptive due to cell phones. And when we stop and think about it, that's where a lot of communication is taking place within the instructional period. Students are texting each other, what are they going to do in between classes, what are they going to do at lunch, what are they going to do after school. Sometimes those aren't so nice messages, and there's a lot of bullying involved with cell phones. There's just no place for that in the instructional day. And we have seen our academics increase significantly because we think that they're paying more attention to what the teacher's covering.
So then what are the penalties or punishments if you're caught?
Yeah, the consequences.
That is a great question. We're tightening that up right now as far as consequences. It has not been ironed out. At the board meeting, we just shared that we're putting our student code of conduct together to reflect what those changes are, and we'll get that out to the parents before school starts. But some examples could be, obviously, if the cell phones are seen at any time, they will be confiscated. Students know, parents know what the new law is. They could be taken up by the administration. There could be a fee for them to retrieve them, just like When our kids were in school too, that was the rule. There could also be a waiting period. If a student's phone is taken up, it would have to remain in the front office maybe for 24 to 48 hours, and who would want that? You know, we have to put something in it with teeth so that students know, don't get your phones out. Another thing that has caused issues with confusion there is that sometimes in the past, teachers have said, okay, students, get your cell phones out, because some of that has been in direct relation to whatever the lesson's going to be. Well, this year CCISD is making sure that we're going to one-to-one devices, that is not needed. They don't have to use their cell phones, they don't have to bring their own iPads. We're providing every student with that.
Chromebooks,
So
is that right?
it is Chromebooks, any device. And the law is not just to cell phones. It's any electronic devices, smartphones, watches, and so
Earbuds too, I
all
saw
of it.
that, yeah.
All of it.
So I'm glad you brought up Chromebooks. For the Chromebooks, I know for STAR testing, a lot of them use those Chromebooks. If a student forgets that Chromebook, there goes the test. So what are the consequences for that, or what are the regulations with the Chromebooks on that? Some kids take it home, they forget them, they don't bring them.
Right, and that's going to be expected. So with other than the device that's issued to the students as their individual device, that is something they take home with them. They don't have to take it home. They could leave it at the school till they come back the next day. But we also have in-class sets. So if for some reason a student forgets theirs, there's one there for them. What we're really trying to teach them, even at the younger ages, is just the responsibility of being that they have for that device. Just like we had textbooks in our day and had to bring a book to class every day, they need to do this with this device.
I know there's an insurance option there as well.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about safety? Want to get
Let's
into some
do it.
safety? Anything new this legislative
Yes.
session? We know they're in special session now, but by the time this airs, what are you tracking? What are you following? What are the rules that maybe have been updated?
There hasn't been any major changes in the school policing venue, other than something small. Funding, they addressed the shortfall in funding. Of course, last session they mandated an armed person at every campus. We did that, but they did not appropriately fund it. They did this session, so they tried to address that, so we really appreciate that. But we do have an armed person at every single campus, and that is a statute, and that's something we're going to live by. We also have already rolled out our emergency operations plan. We've scheduled all of our drills throughout the school year. The appropriate administrators have that information so they can plan and be prepared.
So what do you tell those parents that feel that one officer per school is not enough?
Well, that's only at our primary and our middle school. At our high schools, we're going to have 4. Plus, we have a cadre of patrol. So before we had the mandate, we had a patrol division that would service the elementary campus to support them. So now we've got the armored person there, and for every 5 to 6 campuses, we've got a patrol officer. It's their job just to be in the neighborhood, just in case they need help for any number of reasons.
Okay.
And vaping continues to be a problem. Any new protocols on that?
Well, we've been hitting vaping hard, and we're not going to let up.
I know that some of the punishments have changed once those kids, if they are caught, if they're offenders, things like that, going to, we'll say Judge Joe Benavides. I know he handles some of those truancy cases, vaping cases, and I know he says he sees them around. How difficult is that to monitor in schools? I mean, to track that? And
We've tried different things in CCISD, from the alert systems in the hallways to the restrooms that pick up on the vapes. The new law that if any student was caught with a vape, automatically they're sent to an alternative school setting. I think that was with good intentions, but then in reality, schools were just overloaded with how can you keep up? You know, it's just a trend that's going on inside and outside of schools, and I agree it needs to be stopped, but there are ways to do it. And so in-school suspensions has been a way that we've addressed it. The state realized we're putting too much on the schools to expect them to put all these kids in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension for vapes. All we can do is continue to educate our students and their families that it's not good for you, it shouldn't be done, keep it away from the schools, and just hope that makes a difference. From the previous year, it did help for the new law, but then I think districts across the state were overwhelmed just because of the numbers.
okay. I know something that was really big this year was the additional funding for teachers, teacher retention. We've talked to you about this every single time we've sat down. You have a lot more tools in your arsenal now to, I think, be more attractive to educators.
It has been helpful for the legislative session to focus on teachers. 2 years ago, we didn't have that. Districts didn't get the funding that they were supposed to get. And we know how important that is for schools, and especially CCISD with over 33,000 students and 5,500 or so employees. One, deserve everything they get and then some. So they did put that in place for teachers to get increases in their compensation, and they even divvied it out as far as district size. So the urban districts did get some, but not quite as much as the smaller districts. And that's probably because they don't have a lot of commercial property and stuff like that, property taxes, so they're helping them out. For us, I just want to commend our board. Even in tough times, our district has always focused on doing something for our teachers, but all employees. And even though that was the focus of our legislative session, was just teachers, in CCISD, we did put some packages together that every employee in the district received pay raises. Whether it was a 1%, 2%, or 3%, we just know that they all work hard, they count on it, they're putting in the effort, and they should be rewarded. So we couldn't do what we do without them, and I'm glad to see that the legislature put a lot of attention on our teachers.
Is there some free pre-K in there too for teachers?
There is. So, and there's
important.
another, I don't say it because I'm the superintendent of CCISD, but we're trying to find ways always to not just do the bare minimum of what you're required to do, but then to do more than. So there is a new law that teachers would get free pre-K if they had those age students. And in CCISD, we went above and beyond to where our employees, if they have 3 and 4-year-old children, they can get free pre-K. It is a good recruitment, it is a good retention. We know how families are always, we've been parents, we know what child cares cost. But it's not even about the child care. These are certified teachers in the pre-K classroom settings where these students, 3 and 4-year-olds, are getting what they'd be getting in the public schools and starting their education journey much earlier than those not getting it. We're very proud of that.
Yeah, that incentive is definitely appreciated. Let's talk about attendance. What are your plans to improve attendance for CCISD?
Yeah, attendance, and Chief Warnke can jump in here too. Attendance is an issue across the nation. A lot of chronic absenteeism. I'm really proud of again, our district. Dr. Bruce Wilson started an initiative that we're wanting to grow. He met with the mayor and some city leaders. We hope that committee becomes bigger. What we're hoping people can come to understand that absenteeism is not just a school system issue. Absenteeism is a community issue, and it starts at home with the student, the parent, who have to get these kids to school where they belong. It becomes tougher when they get to middle school and high school, and then when they're driving themselves. In the end, districts are responsible for accountability to the state and Texas Education Agency that students must be in school. And we're working hard and doing what we can in school and out of school, the Keys Walk that we do to go recover students who hadn't checked into school yet and just get them registered. But it goes so much further than that. Same thing with community partners, businesses. People may not realize, but a lot of kids are working out there, and I know they have to, but those are the same students who should be in school.
And they're looking after family members too, if their parents working. I mean, it's not just, I'm skipping school today.
Right.
It's a much deeper
Yes,
issue.
there
as
are
you pointed out.
hardships, and special thanks to a school like Coles High School. Coles High School really targets the students who are going through hardships, could be lacking credits. It's self-paced, they're able to move through the system faster. It's not your traditional high school.
One of the questions, and I know that I'll ask kids, what do you want to ask? They always ask about bullying, because it's important to them. I think that a lot of times they're afraid to say something. When they do, they feel like nothing happens. There's no consequences. So what do you have to say to them?
Well, I mean, something's obligated to happen by law. So if it's reported to us, communication takes place both with the parent of the person who's being bullied and the parent or guardian of the person who's alleged to have been the recipient or the bully. So all of that's tracked within CCISD, so it's not like it's going to get swept. We're going to deal with it because it's important, because if they don't feel safe, then they're not going to be able to learn. Safety, is one of the key elements. Feeling safe and secure at your campus is critical to learning. That's the mission that we have.
What do you stress to your officers? Because I know a lot of times you don't want to just be a body that's dressed and maybe there's a weapon on your hip and you're just standing there. It's kind of like the community policing idea, right? You want the kids to get to know you, and I know you all get to know the kids.
When I onboard all my police and security staff, I tell them they'll be successful in this job if they do one thing, and that's care. You have to care. This is a great place to work. We talked about work-life balance, but it's also a place to get personal enrichment and professional enrichment. I share a story with a student who was at King High School when I was the police officer there. And 12 years later, he hits me up on Facebook and he says, "Sir, I just remember the time you reached out to me and you connected with me. I want to let you know now I'm an anesthesiologist and I'm providing service for fine citizens of Corpus Christi."
Oh, I love that.
And I mean, that's amazing. It's an amazing story. I go and look on his Facebook and there's his whole family. I hit him back up, "Hey man, great family." And so it's those stories which really bring fulfillment and enrichment to what we do. And we encourage that because everybody's job on the campus is to model appropriate adult behavior. Our role is a little more stoic sometimes, but sometimes we can, let our guard
Roll up the sleeves, shoot some hoops with some of the kids when it calls for it.
We went viral last year because one of my police officers is in the end zone at Buck Stadium playing catch with some kids. And that's what we're about. Yes, there's a time when you need to get down, but there's a time when you can get to know people and create relationships.
If I could add to that, I had a chance to address all of our new teachers yesterday, about 270 of them in our district. And that was part of the conversation, is how important it is for teachers to really get to know their students. I said, learn their story. Every student has a story just like we have our story. I said, but school is not a place for people to come to be bullied. Who wants to be a part of that? And it's not only the student's responsibility to make someone aware that that's happening, it's the adults in the school. And I reminded them, we have a responsibility. If you hear anything from students that they're not doing well and kids are picking on them, or even if you just see it, then you need to address it. We're not asking them to jump in and do something about it, but by knowing about it, they can bring it to our attention as administrators at the campus level and get the parents involved and let us handle it. And I just think that's so important because it's about the expectations, and that was the target yesterday. Expectations. What you allow, students will do. But what you share with them as this will not take place in my classroom, it won't. And now the fact that cell phones are gone, that's an even bigger support for us, that we want our schools to come to school to have fun and enjoy the socialization and the learning. And for anyone to say, I don't really want to go to school because of getting bullied, that's just not good anywhere.
No.
I'm glad that you brought that up, and feeling safe. When a child feels safe in school, that's the main priority. They can't learn if they don't feel safe at school. So we've never asked this question before, but it is something that has been brought up. What are the protocols if ICE were to show up at any of the CCISD schools? The protocols if they want to come in, and what are there? Are there anything set? Is there anything set for that?
On the what now?
ICE. If ICE were to show up, yes.
Yeah, so we have not had any issues with ICE. We've had summer school running all summer, no issues. They have been really, if anything, cooperative, respectful, make us aware of anything like that's going to be going on, even in the area. And so a lot of times we'll get notifications if something's going down in a neighborhood. We'll put our schools, on security awareness and locking them down. It's not anything that's going on in the school, but it's because of things going on out there. So, and
we've got a great relationship with some of the local ICE investigators, and they made it clear that they're not looking to jam up people who are they're looking for hard criminals. And I would imagine if there was a hard criminal anywhere near my school, that would be concerning. But we're not going to take, our general counsel has given us clear perspective. We're going to comply with any lawful order from a magistrate. Absent of that, then there's processes.
And then one quick thing too, on the parents, connecting with the parents whose students might be having some struggles here and there. We have a feature in the district, it's called Let's Talk. And like Barbi said, a lot of times parents know their kid may be getting bullied. The kid doesn't want to tell the parent sometimes. The parents don't want to tell the teacher or the school. That is a way to get on the CCISD website, share whatever concerns there are, They can get as specific as they want. We want to know the school. We want to know what's going on. They don't really have to tell us right now if they're afraid to get themselves involved. It's more about addressing the issue for the student. And I think that's a very helpful way. Sometimes if it just triggers us to look more into it, that's exactly what we do with every school. This is what we received. Y'all need to look into this situation and get it resolved, and let's make things better for the students.
Two things I want to bring up. I know we're seeing a little more religion coming back into schools, the recent legislation. Are we seeing the 10 Commandments at all schools now?
So I know that there are some questions out there at the national level, just like last session where they put that every school would have to have "In God We Trust." Those were posters that were donated to our school district, and we have them displayed just like we were required to do. That is our plan as well for the 10 Commandments. It's not like we go and start educating people on everything that's on the poster, but it is required that they be posted, and we would approach it that way.
And also President Trump just said he wanted to bring back the fitness tests that some of us in public school may recall. You had to meet a certain physical standard. That's just now being talked about, but rolling down the streets, or down the weeks, a couple of weeks out. How do we expect that, or what do you think how that might play out?
I like the way it sounds, and it is something we've had before. It has its benefits, considering today, I sat in a meeting the other day and they were given some statistics on obesity in childhood, diabetes, and sometimes unless you're having to do it and you're being made to do it by some of these rules they're putting through the schools of fitness grams and things like that, it'll get done. And just like in our district for our adults, we require that all adults go through a biometric screening. It's not something they would normally do on their own. And to their surprise, when they go do the screenings, they find out they have medical conditions they weren't aware of. I think that that's going to help us get a little bit more involved with our students, help educate the student and the families of what they're dealing with, and it just draws more attention to it. That could be a good thing.
It could be a good thing. They need to move. Put
I
those
do
phones
wanna
down and
add,
move.
Yes.
That I do have my presidential physical fitness patch from 1984.
From Reagan era.
Yes.
I don't think he has one.
What are you saying, I failed?
No, because this is was it before your time?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't remember
I remember
that.
my friends going
Oh,
to
okay.
that, but yeah.
I don't remember that, but
Let's
it could be a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you always need to look after your health regardless, and this nudges people in the
Yes.
right direction.
And that starts at
nothing wrong.
home.
Let's talk about the CCISD Library Board. That's
Yes.
something I believe
Yes.
that came out in the news just recently.
Yes.
How is that going to play out? You haven't selected those board members yet,
Right.
but is this open for anybody that's interested in becoming a library board member?
So right now, because it's so new, and I thought the stations did a really good job of educating the community. There still are some questions though on how that plays out. It's not your normal board where people can just go apply to be on. This is going to be, my understanding is, appointments from the school board members to find people to serve on this library board. Again, like the phones, people have been not quiet to think that that is a CCISD law that we've put in place ourselves, when it's a legislative change that all districts across Texas are doing that. Same thing with the library board. What I appreciate about our staff and the libraries is they've been very, very transparent and open to bring in different families and parents just to have the conversations. And this is just kind of following right in line with that. We'll do what we're required to do. Our board will appoint different members to serve on that committee. It's more just as a review and a monitoring system. It's not to push any political view on any types of books. We've not run into issues like that with our libraries across the district, even as large as we are, and we don't plan to run into that. But if it helps, which I think that's the general feeling from the legislative session, is just to get the parents more involved into the process, then we're all for that.
Any cuts at the federal level, the Department of Education, rolling down to y'all, anything affecting how you operate?
We're very concerned because about 2 to 3 weeks ago, we received word that those funds were going to be cut or held by President Trump at the federal level. So districts started scrambling around as to how we're going to have these programs, what are we going to do in the meantime until they get that resolved. But this week, he did put out that all the funds have been released back to the schools. So we're in good shape.
I was gonna say, because I know of the construction, we're looking at the new school, Lexington, Hamlin, where we are right now. Just making sure, I guess some of that money helps with projects like that when you're, I mean, because I know a lot of it's also voter dependent upon bonds that help you all put the schools together, but any bit helps.
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, our bonds have really been due to the support of our community, specific for buildings and renovations. And, you know, CCISD has been around a very long time. I love to say Corpus Christi ISD is the namesake of Corpus Christi. So it has been around the longest time. And then when you have high schools like Miller High School, the original Corpus Christi High School, been around a very long time. So it's those bonds that our community supports to do renovations to the school, build newer schools and replace the older schools or smaller schools to consolidate. But these are more specific to funds to do certain things. Funds for safety, funds for homeless students, funds for bilingual students. All of your title funds are for those special groups of students that you need extra funding to support because they have higher needs. And so we were thankful that that was taken care of, and especially with school starting up, we're right where we need to be.
Your thoughts on, right now in the special legislative session, they're discussing STAR testing, the future of that. What would you like to see? What are you following closely?
Well, you know, I'm not a big believer in the STAR tests, but I am a big believer in accountability. And I think people get confused when they hear that schools don't really want to deal with STAR. It's not so much accountability, it's just how the test is designed. There are a lot of changes that have happened since the inception of STAR, including one of the biggest ones recently, and I think there's an article out there on how it's scored. There were a couple lawsuits recently because, not again because of STAR, but because once the school year had already passed, they went and made changes to the accountability after the fact. We're being held responsible for kids who had already graduated a year ahead. What can you do for them? You no longer have them. They're in college and grown-ups already moving on. And yet schools were being held accountable for that. So I think as far as accountability, we're for that. Is STAR the answer, a one-day test that measures what kids are doing? No. There has to be a better way. The fact that schools a lot of times get negative criticism for areas that might struggle more, just a much greater need in what happens with students and families and the support that they get. There's a better system that can address that. As far as a special session, I don't see a lot of attention being given to STAR. A lot of attention is being given to the situation that happened in the Hill Country with where it should be. You know, the many lives lost in the Hill Country, and putting some systems in place that maybe could help prevent something like that in the future is such a higher priority right now, I think, than the STAR test and what we're doing in our day-to-day. And then some lobbying bills that are there. But we're keeping close track on it, but it isn't really targeting those areas right now.
With school vouchers taking effect next year, what are the concerns for CCISD? Any plans in place?
Well, you know, all the districts around the state, we want kids, all of us. There was a time school districts would charge tuition for students to come into their district if they were out of district residents. Those days are gone. Now districts are just, you want to come to our district, you come on. State funding follows the student wherever they go, so it's not like they were really needing to. But enrollment is what drives funding for schools. The vouchers can present a problem in certain areas. I don't see that really being as big an issue here. Schools just have to continue to do their best, offer their best, provide the best setting for students and families to where these families want to be where they are. Yes, it's going to have an impact because families are going to choose to take advantage of those savings accounts, is how they're being labeled. And then we'll have to deal with it once it kicks in, and that's not till next school year.
And we're also seeing, looking further down the road, some cuts to programs, to SNAP, food programs that'll affect kids. I believe in 2 years it'll affect the summer school feeding program. Are y'all looking to get ahead of any of that and making sure that, because I know for some of these kids, the only meal they get's the morning and noon.
Yeah, I think we've been ahead of that. Certainly didn't expect that to happen, but you know, CCISD is one of the few districts that we offer free breakfast, free lunch. We do have some evening meal programs, and that's for all students. There was a day where only if you qualified that you could get these meals, but we as a district chose do it for all students. And I remember one day being at a track meet, I had a parent just walk up to me and say, I just want to thank you for the pay raise. And I'm like, oh, are you one of our employees? And they're like, no, but you are offering my 4 kids free breakfast and lunch every day, and I don't have to pay that. I didn't think about that. I love it. So yeah, and so, you know, for the families, again, we have a wonderful student transition program for the homeless, but it includes all of the families who might be struggling. It's amazing. I hope someday y'all go by there. It's on our Old Cunningham campus. They have departments where one section is all groceries, clothing is another section, school supplies is another section, toiletries is another section. Their operation is outstanding, and that's for our families who need it the most.
I love that.
And I see all these different back to school, free giveaways, supply giveaways. We have Operation Safe Return with CCPD. I would imagine all those help too, especially the teachers in the classroom, not having to worry about, are my kids coming in with the right tools to succeed?
Right. We recently had our United Way HEB supply our students event. The next day was our Lead First back to school health fair at Miller High School. When I arrived, before the door even opened, the line was at the door to entry, circling around the cemetery over to Buck Stadium, and everything was free. Physicals were offered, immunizations were offered, eye exams were offered. They could get backpacks that were fully supplied with supplies. This community is amazing, and that is for the families out there from any district, you know, from any district. And I just would encourage families, take advantage of that, because one, you know, the families that had 3 and 4 kids, that was one for each kid. You know, and physicals for athletics, if you have multiple kids, can cost money. I just have to applaud the CCPD, our district police, the city, and everyone trying to help in ways that school starts up.
One thing about our community always steps up for each other. Your message for CCISD staff, parents, and students as they're getting ready for their first day of school?
Exciting. We're ready for our students to come on August 11th. We know at this time of year, lots of anxiety, maybe a little fear, especially for our younger ones. Our parents actually have a harder time than the younger ones going into school. But the kids are in good hands. We have great teachers and staff. We want to make sure that we're giving them a safe environment. We want to express, especially since our big initiative has been capturing kids' hearts for the past several years. And you know, what we started out with a few national schools, demonstration schools, we're up to 30 plus schools of Capturing Kids' Hearts award winners. And that is just about connecting with the kid, making them feel loved and supported, and we just have to continue to push that through our system. Don't hesitate. Any questions, we're here. Our district website, CCISD.us, has a lot of frequently asked question documents, what to expect, bus routes. Be a little patient in some case, because that first day of school, new families are learning the traffic flow.
And the school zones as well.
Yes.
And the school zones.
Yeah.
Your message
That's
to them, yes.
He just stole the message, because that's the message. Everybody's excited. I like the fact that you mentioned the first day of school. I loved the first day of school, and now I get to enjoy it. I've enjoyed it for 28 years in my career here at CCISD. But everyone needs to be patient.
Yeah.
He hit all the buttons right there. Be patient, understand that there's some new parents there, or some people who don't quite remember how it was last year.
And a lot of construction.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of
so
road construction.
be very patient.
Yeah.
We like the roads when they're finished.
Yes.
Sometimes they're not as patient as we want to be while
That's
they're
right.
fixing them.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so very much
Thank
for taking
you.
time out of your busy schedule. I know the week leading up to is always a busy one, and lots of things to be done before all the kids show up in the hallways and classrooms. But on behalf of KIII, thank you
Absolutely.
so very much, guys.
Yes, thank you for opening the doors. This is brand new, amazing Hamlin Middle School. Congratulations once again.